In this video, I'm sharing 5 essential sewing skills you can do from your home, even if you don't have a sewing machine. Whether you're a beginner or haven't touched a sewing machine ever in your life and just simply looking to get started with sewing, this video could be for you. First sewing skill I want to share with you is hemming the pants. So I took this footage a while ago and I do apologize, it's in portrait, not landscape. I know I said even without a sewing machine, but I just wanted to share this footage with you in case if you do have a sewing machine and you want to use this method, feel free to watch. Otherwise, you can skip this section and jump straight into the hand sewing method, which I left the timestamps in the below description. I hope you enjoy watching this video and find it useful. First thing you need is ruler, tailor's chalk or pen, scissors, snippers, and some pins. And I had to hem up my partner's pants and I pinned both legs, and that's totally up to you. You can just pin one leg and base it off that, but if you want to be really accurate, it is common that a lot of people have slightly different leg length. So if you want to be really accurate for the job, you can pin both legs just to be sure. And fold the pants in half, and in this section I'm lining up the waistband to make sure they're all matching, making sure everything is sitting flat, and putting a pin around the leg just so that it doesn't move too much. And then I'm releasing the pins and putting it right where the fold is, which is going to be the finished edge of the pants. So I'm doing that on both legs. Yeah, and so basically as a standard pant hem, it's 1.5 centimeters wide hem. So I'm measuring 3 centimeters out from the finished length. And because we are going to fold it twice and do a double rolled hem. So that's why I'm measuring 3 centimeters out from the finished length and marking in a couple of other places on both ends. And then you can draw a line straight down. Probably not the best chalk pen for this, but whatever works. And so I'm just going to repeat the same process, and this one I'm actually using a soap. So that is a great alternative to tailor's chalk, and you can just cut a small piece and sharpen the edges so you can mark a fine line. And the great thing I love about is that when you steam with the iron, it just disappears because it's soap. So it's really great alternative, and I love using that a lot, so you can do that too. So I'm basically repeating the same process and measuring 3 centimeters out from the finished length and drawing a line straight down with the ruler and cut that away. And remove the pin because I don't need that anymore. And I'll do the same for the other side. Okay, so with the sewing machine, I'm just going to double roll the hem, and I'm hammering it down a little bit because sometimes it can be quite bulky, and I'm just a little bit cautious not to break the needle, so that's why I give it a bit of a tap and flatten out the bulky bits, and moving the needle manually if you're worried. I'm a little bit cautious with these things, so I do that manually around that section, and then you can sew right along the edge where the fold ends. So generally speaking, you want to start this from the inner leg seam just because it's less visible and it's a nicer finish. And yeah, you fold the hem at 1.5 centimeters and fold it again and do it all the way. and snip off any excess threads along the way. Yep, and basically what I want to do is stitch right over on top of the stitch line where I started from, and that's it. And once you've done the same for the other side, you can just give it a steam and you're pretty much done. I'm just giving it a quick press all the way around so it's nice and crisp. And that's it, and you're done. Alright, the hand sewing method. So it's exactly the same as the previous section. We are leaving 3 centimeters from the finished edge, and I pre-pressed it so I know exactly where I need to sew, and it makes my sewing life a lot easier. And you can tie a knot by looping the thread just like this, and I'm going to grab at the end of where it's crisscrossing and twist it around so you can see the thread rotating around like this, and you pull it away and that creates a little knot. So I'm gonna start from the inside of the fold so the knot is going to hide behind it. And I'm going to pick a couple of threads in the fabric and picking up the edge of the fold. Just to let you know, this is technically the inside of the garment, so you work this from the wrong side of the garment. And I'm giving myself roughly a centimeter between each stitches and pulling the thread gently. Make sure it's nice and taut, and repeat the process by picking up a couple of threads again and the edge of the fold and pull the thread all the way through. Okay, so I'm halfway through now and just making sure it's looking good and gently pulling the thread and make sure it looks all good. So I'm gonna keep going. And also letting you know, with the hand sewing method, I'm a very self-taught person, so please take this as a grain of sand. I don't think there's any right or wrong, and everyone seems to have their own different methods, so I think whatever works. So this is what it looks like on the other side. And once you're done, you can loop the thread a few times around the needle like this, and you pull it away, and just make sure that there are no gaps between the stitches, and gently pull the thread away so you create a knot right at the finish. It looks like this. Snip it away and you're done. So that's the inside, and that's what it's going to look on the outside. Okay, so another popular type of hem is a blind hem, and it's very common for dresses and dress pants, and generally speaking the standard is 5 centimeters folded over. So I'm creating a knot here again, and it's exactly the same method as the previous section. I'm picking up a few threads from the inside of the garment and picking up the edge of the folded fabric. And I'm going to give myself about a centimeter in between each stitches. And I'm also actually should have used white overlocking thread so that it's more visible for you, but I'm also using a red thread just for the sake of demonstration, and for if you are doing it for real on a pair of pants or whatever, you would want to use a matching thread color. And once you're done, you can create a knot again, just like before. Around the needle a few times and pull it away until you create a knot right at the end. I'm using the edge of my nail to hold the knot in place and gently pulling it away. And there you go, you have a blind hem finish. Okay, so the next one is restitching the seam. Also a very popular clothing alterations that tends to be on demand. And it might look something like this. So if you turn it inside out and go to the inside of the garment, it might look something like this. So you can see the stitches have broken. So what you want to do here is just clean that up. So I'm picking all the stitches that has broken. And go on to the other side and trim off the excess. Yeah. So for example, something like this is an open end seam where it's pressed out. So in that case, what you want to do, because you want to sew it along here, you want to make sure it's sitting nice and flat. So give it a press. And for this one, I'm threading it through the needle first, and I'm going to double the thread. And I'll catch the end and tie a knot. Exactly the same method from the previous section. Trim the excess. And I'm going to start a few centimeters before the stitch has broken. And you want to go through right on top of the existing stitch. And I'm picking up probably about 3 to 4 millimeters of fabric every stitch, and just following the stitch line. and it can be really annoying. Sometimes the thread can tangle, so just do it gently as you go. Okay, so I'm repeating the process, picking up every few millimeters and going over the existing stitch. And now I'm ready to stitch the gap. Right, so you can see the stitch holes along here. So all you have to do is follow that line. If it is not visible, then you can draw a line using a ruler and a tailor's chalk and just simply follow that line. This is called running stitch, and it's one of the most basic hand sewing stitch, and it's very practical and effective. It's probably the most simple hand sewing you can do, and you can apply in so many different situations. Right, so now go over a few centimeters in over the existing stitch on the other side, and I'm just gonna give a couple more stitches, and I'm finishing off by tying a knot just like that. And you're done. So it's looking good on the other side, which will be the outside of the garment. And let's press this out again so it's exactly how it was. And there you go, you have restitched the seam. For sewing the buttons, I'm folding the thread in half and threading that through the needle. So altogether we're threading 4 threads in a go. And this is a wax that I got from haberdashery store, but I think you can use beeswax as well. I think that will work just fine. And then you run it through the iron and it stiffens the thread, so there's no tangling or anything that's gonna happen. It's just really handy. And I'm just gonna pick up the end and tie a knot, and I'll pick where I want to sew the bottom in and stitch it through like this. And for this one, it's got 4 holes, so I'm gonna crisscross. So I'm gonna put the needle through 1 hole, and I'm just gonna work diagonally. And stitch the needle through to the other side. And put it through on the other side of the hole. And when I go over, I try to stitch as close as possible to the existing stitch that I made, like this. And I'm gonna repeat it once more. Yep, so it's nice and secure now, and I'm gonna go around like this 3 to 4 times, pull it away to secure the position, And I'm just going to pick up a bit of fabric here, right behind the bottom. Just like so. And then tie a knot. And there are many different ways to sew on a button and how you finish it. So this is just one of the many methods, and this is the way that I happen to do it. Okay, so once you're finished, you can tie a knot and trim the threads off, and you're done. Next, we're mending a hole on the garment, and I've got a crew sweater here, and I don't know what happened, but I realized that I had a hole in my shoulder. So I started off with a knot and stitched it through from the inside of the garment, and here you can see that I'm picking up the threads of the fabric every few millimeters and threading that through, and pull the thread gently to bring the gap together. So now I'm working my way down, repeating the same process, and just gently thread that through and slowly bring it together. You pretty much repeat the process up and down until you reach to the other side of the hole. And I think the key here is to get the right thread color and make sure it matches nicely to the garment that you're working on, and that really helps reduce the visibility of where you mend. So now we've reached to the other side of the hole and it's looking pretty good. Managed to fill the gap and it doesn't look too bad, so I'm happy with that. So once you're done, you can put the needle through to the other side and pull the thread all the way into the inside of the garment. And you can either finish this off by a simple knot, that's totally fine, or right here I'm picking up a few fibers every millimeter or so and running a few stitches like this. So I'm picking up the fibers from the inside so it's not visible from the outside, and running a small stitch again at the same spot, and then I'm running a few stitches again backwards, so back towards where I came from. And I find that this helps secure the stitch and make sure it doesn't unravel. Right, so this is how it looks. Pretty happy with it. So let's give it a quick press and you have mended a hole in the garment. Okay, so the next one is if you have like a massive hole or a big tear and you'd rather patch it up. This is one way you can do, and create a patch with a piece of fabric. And I'm just gonna pin it in position, and in this one I'm starting without a knot on the end. I'll leave a little bit overhanging and I'm stitching it right over like this. Yeah, and then run it over again, and I find that is as secure as tying a knot. And sometimes I like doing that because it's less bulky. And then I'm going to give myself about 5 millimeters for every stitch, and picking up through the edge of the patch. And completing the stitch straight across, right next to the edge. and repeat the process. So depending on what you want to patch up, you can be really playful and use a contrasting fabric as a patch. I think you can try a different shape even. So there's a few fun ways you could patch up a hole or a tear. So now I'm coming to the end. And then I'm going to stitch straight across and then finish on the other side. So it's going to look like that from behind, and you can tie a knot to finish. Or do it like this by creating a small stitch and going over it twice. And then here I'm working backwards. So after I go over a couple stitches around the same spot, just checking, make sure that it's not visible from the outside, and running a stitch backward, and that also helps it to secure in position. And there you go, you have a little patch covering a hole or a tear, so another way to fix. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you found it useful, please give it a thumbs up. If you have anything else you want to see from this channel, let me know in the comment section below.